Hey, ladies, and welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. Today's guest is somebody who really knows her way around a makeup brush and a skincare routine. Her name is Kat James. Kat has spent more than 3 decades in the beauty industry, from working as an esthetician to becoming a celebrity makeup artist. She was actually the first beauty creator over 50 to hit 1 million followers on TikTok. And it's no surprise she's built a loyal following, showing midlife women how to feel confident, radiant, and beautiful at every age. So in this episode, we're diving into beauty tips for mature skin, how to simplify your routine, where maybe you need to expand it, and what it really means to age beautifully, both on the inside and out. So let's get to it.
So what do you think the first thing I do every morning when I get out of bed? You're probably thinking, you head to the bathroom, you go, you brush your teeth. Nope. The first thing I do is I take my Ritual Symbiotic Plus. That's because I want to make sure that I am checking the box when it comes to gut health. Ritual Symbiotic Plus is a 3-in-1 supplement of clinically studied pre, pro, and postbiotics that support a balanced gut microbiome with daily use. And it's designed with a delayed release capsule, which helps it reach the colon, not the stomach. You see, the colon is the ideal place for probiotics to survive and grow. So get your gut going. Support a balanced gut microbiome with Ritual Symbiotic Plus. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/over50. That's ritual.com/over50 for 25% off your first month. You guys, I think we need to do a new home tour video because we literally just decorated an entire wall in our house with mix tiles. And I am so blown away with how cool this product is. Mix tiles, you basically upload photos that you love, and it has this revolutionary hanging system that makes it so easy. No hammer, no nails, no hole in the wall. You just peel the magnet on the back, stick it onto your wall, and pop your frame photo right on. That's it. You can move it around, readjust. It doesn't ruin the wall. Nothing, damage-free. It's so easy. Turn your favorite memories into stunning, affordable wall art. For a limited time, our listeners get 35% off all orders above $139. Head on over to mixtiles.com, use code OVER50, and you're all set. That's code OVER50 at mixtiles.com. After you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Mixed Tiles, tell them it was from our show. All right, ladies, do you want to help your kiddos pick out a really nice gift for dad on Father's Day? Send them over to Quince. They make buying a thoughtful gift so incredibly easy. Quince has all the pieces that dad's actually going to want to wear, like cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, and comfortable pants that will work for everything from weekend hangouts to nice dinners. For the dad who deserves better than basic, Quince has you covered. Go to quince.com/over50 for free shipping on your first order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/over50 to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/over50.
Kat, it is so good to have you on Over 50 and Flourishing. You know, any hour where we can talk all things beauty is going to be a really good hour. So welcome to the show.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a joy to have you. You know, you have really a remarkable career and you blew up on social media in the over 50 space at a time where nobody was blowing up on social media in that space. So give us a little bit of your history and your background and let people know about you.
Yeah, I have a long sorted background, but always in beauty and cosmetics. It was my only sort of passion ever since I was young. I was that teenager that was doing everyone's makeup, cutting everyone's hair. So when it came time for college, it was really an easy pick for me. I went to esthetician school. I did that in Canada, and our program's a little different. It's a 2-year program. And then after 2 years, I interned in doctor's office and learned about injectables and all that kind of stuff. And I sort of, for the next 20, 30 years, made my way all through the beauty industry, whether it was a makeup artist for film, television. I worked with plastic surgeons and did their consults for them. I worked with big brands like Chanel, Bobbi Brown. I was a national trainer and account executive. I've kind of done it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have. I mean, and then what made you decide to come over to the online space? I'm guessing it's because you've done so much. It's like, well, why not share what I've got?
I mean, truthfully, it did not happen like that at all. It was such a whim and a fluke. First of all, I mean, I'll give you a little backstory. It's random, but I think it matters. So during
Okay.
COVID, I had a physical storefront, a brick and mortar storefront in Malibu, which is where I live. And we had all, Dr. Barbara Stern products, a Guinea spatter, like we
Hmm.
had all the big products, but we did facials. We had an infrared sauna room. And of course, during COVID, we were ordered closed like so many small businesses. And at one point I was so like, oh, like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I keep this business going? Do I close? Like, how do I continue to make this work? So I did what any normal woman would do. I called my psychic and said, what do I do? And she basically, did this reading for me. And she said, I don't know about your physical store, but your online business is going to be huge. And I was like, my online
My
business? I
what?
don't have an online business. I think I had ever shipped out one product once from my store, which was to one of my bi-coastal clients. So she was telling me how amazing my online business would be. And she kept seeing order after order and me just growing into this sensation. And I literally hung up the call with this psychic and I called my girlfriend, who we always share our readings afterwards. And I was like, oh, that sucked. What a waste of money. She was wrong. You don't understand the stuff she was telling me. So that's the backside of the story. Fast forward, I have teenage kids. And my daughter was on TikTok and she was
Hmm.
learning a dance. And she was like, Mom, come do this dance with me. And it was a song I didn't know because, TikTok has its own music library. It was
Sure.
moves I'd never seen. So I said to her at one point, give me your phone. Let me learn the dance. Like, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Let me figure this out. And after taking her phone for half an hour, I started to see a beauty creator, mascara tutorial. And then I started seeing brands, NARS was on there, Bobbi Brown was on
Yes.
there. And I was like, these
Huh.
brands are on TikTok. And she came up to me and she said, you are ruining my algorithm with your old lady stuff. Get off my TikTok and get your own. So that night, I cozied up in bed. I grabbed myself a glass of wine. I downloaded TikTok and I really binged watched it. And I sort of
Hmm.
said, I could do this. Like, I definitely could do this. And I just started that next day making TikToks. I didn't start on Instagram, which I think people think is the most normal place for someone my age to start, is maybe Instagram or Facebook. I had ignored those platforms completely and just went straight on TikTok. And I guess it was
Hmm.
at that time, my voice was a voice people were looking to hear.
Right. And when was this, Kat? How long ago?
That would have been, I want to say 2022.
Okay, so just a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
But again, it just goes to show how little there was out there even just a few years ago in this space. Now it is blown up.
Yeah.
But you did something very, very smart. You did the opposite of what most were doing. And you went to no man's land for
Right.
women 50 plus. And you're like,
Right.
hey, here I am. Here's what I got. Here are my techniques. And look at how you blew up. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this whole blow up phase and what that meant for you.
It was one of those things. Again, it's sort of surreal because you'll have a video and it does nothing and it's like 3 followers and it's like your mom, your sister, and your daughter, and then it kind of 10 followers, and I always say to people, you'll never know what video it is, but I remember I did one video and it just within an hour I had 10,000 followers, and then the next day it was 20,000 followers, and it very quickly sort of cyclones, and you never know. I mean, I will think sometimes I've made the greatest video and it bombs, and then I'll
Yeah.
make a video sitting in my car in a parking lot and it does phenomenal. So it sort of grew very quickly. And listen, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I mean, especially at my age, being on camera, you see every flaw. I feel, it's
Mhm.
intimidating. There's always those beginning stages where you hear the stories that people are passing around your videos and, Psst, she's making videos. Can you believe she's on TikTok? Like, there's that weird starting phase.
Yeah.
And I just sort of made, first of all, I think for me, I enjoyed doing it. It was actually something I ended up really enjoying. So take aside any type of monetary reward or any type of embarrassment, I actually just liked doing it. So for me, it was a very natural thing to sort of become part of my routine. I just made a video, one a day, every day.
Yeah, no, it's the consistency that really pays off, as
Yes.
well as the content and the authenticity. So you are blending all of these things together. And
Yep.
to your point, you don't know what's going to have legs and take off, but when it does, it will draw a lot of eyeballs to your platform.
Yep.
So speaking of, what are the kinds of things that people can expect when they come and see you? I mean, you have, as you mentioned, a myriad of expertise and
Right.
backgrounds. So what are you putting out there?
It's a variety of things. I think in the beginning, I really started with sort of makeup techniques, how to determine, what's the difference between hyaluronic acid and lactic acid? What's the difference in
Mhm.
sort of like teaching educational, which I still do. And it's really the core of my platform is educational. It's stuff that I would teach you if, I was doing a Chanel training. I start with skincare 101, brushes 101. So I think that's the core of what I do. But then beyond that, just as you grow, people ask you, you lost weight. How did you do it? So then you start sharing your smoothie recipe. You start sharing your, what I eat in a day. And then gradually that kind of changes to, how I count my steps, what apps I use, what's your favorite, what clothing do you wear the most? Where do you shop over 50 became a really big thing.
Mhm.
People are like, where do you buy clothes? Where do you go? So I think now my platform has a lot of different sort of genres in it, still beauty being the core, which is what I know well. And I always say, especially in the online world, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, there are so many experts out there now. I mean, there's so many people to follow that can teach you about health, nutrition, fitness, hair. So I always sort of, I don't like to use the word stay in your lane, but I'm really good at what I do, which is beauty. I just come with a wealth of knowledge and expertise. So I like to sort of stick there as my core content. And then everything else is kind of just fluff.
Yeah, but you know what? It's ancillary, and to your point, I can relate to you in this way very much because I think we both started in beauty. But as you spend time online and people start asking questions just about you, life, you start opening up more and sharing
Yep.
more, and it can become kind of this lifestyle brand as well. Because why not share those things? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you've learned something along the way that somebody else can benefit from. But speaking of benefiting, I really want to do a deep dive into beauty because you have such wealth of information. And I'm sure our listeners are going to have a ton of questions. So I'm going to get into the mind of the listener after this commercial break. And we're going
Okay.
to start talking about skincare, makeup, tips, techniques for over 50. You're going to walk us all through it. And we'll do
Okay.
that right after this break.
Perfect.
So, what do you think the first thing I do every morning when I get out of bed? You're probably thinking, you head to the bathroom, you go, you brush your teeth. Nope. The first thing I do is I take my Ritual Symbiotic Plus. That's because I want to make sure that I am checking the box when it comes to gut health. Ritual Symbiotic Plus is a 3-in-1 supplement of clinically studied pre, pro, and postbiotics that support a balanced gut microbiome with daily use. And we're all learning the gut microbiome is key not only to our mental health, but also our immunity and, of course, digestion. I've noticed huge digestion improvements since taking Ritual Symbiotic Plus. I feel absolutely incredible. And it's designed with a delayed release capsule, which helps it reach the colon, not the stomach. You see, the colon is the ideal place for probiotics to survive and grow. And it's just one minty essence capsule a day. That's it. You can take it with or without food. So simple. So get your gut going. Support a balanced gut microbiome with Ritual Symbiotic Plus. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/over50. That's ritual.com/over50 for 25% off your first month. You guys, I think we need to do a new home tour video because we literally just decorated an entire wall in our house with mixed tiles. And I am so blown away with how cool this product is. Mixed tiles, you basically upload photos that you love. We uploaded 14 of them. We did 12 by 12, kind of black and white noir. And it has this revolutionary hanging system that makes it so easy. No hammer, no nails, no hole in the wall. You just peel the magnet on the back, stick it onto your wall, and popped your frame photo right on. That's it. You can move it around, readjust. It doesn't ruin the wall. nothing, damage free. It's so easy. You can pick hundreds of styles, colors, size combinations. It's beautiful and I'm obsessed. Turn your favorite memories into stunning, affordable wall art. For a limited time, our listeners get 35% off all orders above $139. Head on over to mixtiles.com, use code OVER50 and you're all set. That's code OVER50 at mixtiles.com. After you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Mixed Tiles, tell them it was from our show.
Welcome back. Our guest today is the spirited Kat James, an over 50 beauty influencer. She blew up on TikTok, over 1 million followers and growing and growing and growing. So much information. Before the break, we got a little bit of your backstory, Kat, but you really have so much information about beauty, skincare, all of that. So I want to get in and talk about some beauty and skincare tips. My audience predominantly over 50, so you picked the right platform. How about mistakes? What are some of the biggest mistakes that women make over 50 when it comes to their skincare?
There's a couple things that stand out to me, and it's mostly the thought process of approaching skincare versus actual product mistakes. So I think that people get this thought in their head, and this is a little bit controversial, but a lot of women will say to me, like, I don't want 10 steps and I don't want to make this crazy and I'm not going to. And I sort of look at them and I say, but why not? Like, really, what's stopping you from having a full routine if you know that's going to help your skin and work? Like, I don't sort of, it'd be like saying I'm only cooking 5 ingredient meals. That's it. Why?
Good point.
You're going to sacrifice flavor. You're going to sacrifice nutrition. Like, I do find this sort of mentality shifts at some point where less is more. And it's not always the case, especially with skincare. I believe as we age, your skin does require other things that maybe you weren't using in your 20s. You do now need to treat your neck. You should be treating your décolleté. You should be treating your eyes, which are things that maybe you forego in your 20s. But as we age, you need those. So you might need to add more products in. You might need to swap out products. So if you're using, a certain cleanser during the summer, that'll change in the winter. And so I feel like I always have to kind of educate people and almost talk them into being comfortable with being okay having a little bit more of an evolved routine. It doesn't make you high maintenance. It doesn't have to be overly expensive, but you do have to kind of commit and embrace that it's going to be a little more work as we age to look good.
Yeah. And to your point, there are so many beauty brands that have stepped up to the plate and they're offering all of the things that you talk about. We'll kind of do a deep dive into retinoid, retinol, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, all these things that we need that you can get affordably. So let's talk about some of the biggest complaints that women over 50 have, and it is loss of elasticity, fine lines, wrinkles, spots. It's like suddenly the neck, what's happened to the neck? It is the number one complaint that I get, and everybody's like, what's the secret sauce here? So what's your protocol on that? And by the way, make this for everything, because you talked about eyes and décolleté as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, the biggest mistake is, it's not one size fits all. So I will always have followers say to me, like, what do you use for your neck? What do you use for your eyes? And there's always a big, what was your starting point? So one of the first things, again, like when I would do consultations at plastic surgeons' offices, we never had a set roadmap of, you're over 50, you're, concerned with fine lines, wrinkles, elasticity. So you're going to do X, Y, Z. It all depends on how have you aged so far. So what is your starting point today? Also, what is your priority? Is it the neck? Is it the jowls? Is it the eyes? Sort of taking into account what you see versus what I see. And I think the biggest things are topicals can only do so much. So there is a limit to what a product can do. They can make a tremendous difference in luminosity, texture, discoloration, pores. They don't do much for lifting. And I say that as someone who I use $300 products, $500 products. I've used everything there is to use. There is not a cream that is lifting your skin. So I think also setting very realistic expectations about what a product can do. When you want true lifting and differences, you're getting into procedures. So whether that's lasers, ultherapy, radio frequency, microneedling, or surgeries, when you really are looking for a lifted, firmer look, you're getting into procedures. And I try to be very honest and realistic about that.
So, I mean, basically, we're calling BS on any product that's going to tell you it's going to lift your face.
Yes. Listen, you can get a lifted look. And I always say that to people, because if you have dehydrated skin, if you've been neglecting your skin, when you start treating it better, it will plump up. It's like a flower that's wilted. You can kind of see it's wilted. And when you add water, you'll see it kind of, your skin will do that. So products make a tremendous difference. And I'm not saying, oh, they don't work. I'm just saying, when someone really will send me a picture and they have extreme jowling and lines across their neck, and they say, what product can I use? And I'll say, what product can you use to make that look a little plumper, a little softer, help those lines look a little more diffused? I have products I can recommend for that. But if you're talking about having a chiseled jawline again, now I'm going to give you some doctors to go see.
Right. And here's the thing. I mean, you could spend, and you just made this point, you can spend hundreds of dollars on products that'll last you 3 months, 6 months. And by the time you tally up that whole product list, it may have been a better option to move into something maybe not as invasive as plastic surgery, but there are so many accompaniments and things in between, and we can talk about those. I mean, first of all, the popularity of like red light therapy and all of these devices that you can now use at home. What are your thoughts on that? Because they say they stimulate collagen, but is it enough?
It's an amazing start, and it's amazing to add to your practice. And again, I say it like anything because I'm guilty of it. I have all of those things. I have red lights. I have these little, what's it called? The Metacube has a little zapping device. I have everything. And if I use it once a week, it's not going to do anything. These things like red light need to be done daily. So I always say, will you see a difference? You 100% will see a difference in the integrity of your skin using red light if you're using it daily. If you're using it once a week, even twice a week, it's not going to make any difference. It can feel good. It's relaxing, but you will not see visual differences unless you're using it every single day. And I think, again, for a lot of people, that's a big commitment. But I always sort of go back to saying, let's say you were prescribed red light therapy for an injury you had, which is what it was used for before we really started using it for anti-aging and skin. It was used in therapy all the time for healing, again, for regeneration. So if you are told, your shoulder will have full movement again and feel so much better, and you'll have less pain, less inflammation if you do red light therapy every day, chances are you would do it. But when it comes to face, again, I think it becomes so much more of an optional thing, which it is. It's optional. But if you want to see results, if you want to sort of get your money's worth, you have to really put skincare in the place of, I am committing to this as a daily practice. The same way you would do like brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, like all those things that are just second nature for you. Red light therapy should be second nature.
Okay. What are the absolute must-haves? We're going to start with skincare and move on up where you will really, really see a difference. Skincare first.
I would say out of every ingredient I would recommend when it comes to skincare, I think everyone, even over the age of 35, but when you're in your 40s and 50s, without question, should be using some type of a growth factor. You will see a tremendous difference when you start using growth factors. Even you'll hear things, stem cells. There's so many different versions of stem cells. There's ones that are coming from embryo. There are ones that are coming from, you've got the like salmon sperm right now. There's also plant stem cells, which are tremendously effective and I think don't get enough credit. I have a crazy story. I started using stem cells, I want to say 20 years ago. I went to the south of France and I went into this pharmacy, and I speak very broken French. I'm Canadian, so we all know a little bit of French. And I went into this pharmacy and I was like, I want the best cream for wrinkles. And I was trying to say this in French, and she handed me this crazy cream. And I was there with my girlfriend, and we both walked away with this one cream. And like a week later, I was sitting in my car in the carpool lane waiting for pickup, and I looked at myself in the mirror, which is the worst thing you can possibly do, is look at yourself in the car mirror, like way to instantly humble yourself. And my skin looked so good. And I immediately, called or texted my girlfriend, and I was like, how does your skin look? Are you using that cream? And she was like, I've been meaning to call you. My skin has never looked better. So the lure on this crazy cream was, it was developed. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm telling you now, with my psychic story and this story, I'm sure I sound like I'm going to be like, everyone's going to be like, oh my God. They told this story of there's a small village in the south of France, and there is a genetic disease that is quite prominent, and it's an aging disease where young people tend to look older than their age. And there's actually a name for it. I can't remember what it is. And remember, this whole story was being told to me in French. And because this was such a major thing and they wanted it corrected, the government started making remedies using stem cells to sort of help correct this. And they actually found a way to start reversing these aging in these young people that were having these crazy signs of aging. And then because it's France and not America, they allowed that research and development to be used cosmetically. So they were using stem cells from plants, and it was a particular flower that's able to grow and bloom in very, very harsh conditions. And so basically using that stem cell on your skin allows your skin to sort of bloom and have integrity in harsh conditions, which is aging, where there's not a lot of collagen, not a lot of circulatory response. So that was my first introduction to stem cells, and it was a plant stem cell. And I have always sought out stem cell skincare after that. It's just something I so believe in. So exosomes and stem cells are a great place to start.
Where can you find those? I mean, some people may be saying, wow, this is the first time I've heard of plant stem cells in skincare products. I mean, where should people go look?
You'd be surprised because they're in a lot of products and you just don't know it. I mean, a lot of times you will see them, especially in products that use words like regeneration or communicates with cells. When you see those verbiages in products, they're often using some type of a stem cell or a growth factor. They're maybe not, now people are using it more in their write-ups because they've become a little more trendy and people understand it. A few years ago, you wouldn't even see the word stem cell written because it had a negative connotation. People would say, oh, stem cell, is that umbilical cord thing? I don't want, so companies avoided saying they were doing it. Now you're seeing it a lot more. You are seeing people say, growth factor technology, stem cell technology. It's becoming much more mainstream. I would say in the next, 5 years, every product will have it. And you'll not just see it in serums and creams. You're going to start to see it in your cleansers, and it across the board, it will be encompassed in skincare.
Yeah. And to your point, it comes from a multitude of sources and generally not the one that was so offensive to many people
Exactly.
in this realm. Okay, so that's interesting. Thoughts on, I'm sure you're a big fan of vitamin C just for skin discoloration. And what are your thoughts on retinoids versus retinol?
It's an interesting question because I get so much feedback from people that I don't talk about retinol a lot, retinoids a lot. And I always say, I don't really use them. I have a prescription from my doctor. I use it, I would say once a week at the most, mostly because for me and a lot of people, there are so many side effects that come with it. And also, I live in California. I'm always in the sun. I can't get away from it. And even with full sunscreen, you are having sun exposure. So when you are using a prescription like that, you become so much more photosensitive that you can in fact be doing more damage to your skin than good. So I always say, I know that it's become, again, I think it's a little trendy. Everyone's like, you have to be on it. It's the best, that's the one thing you need in your regime. And I'm sort of like, take it with a grain of salt. There are over the counter that are much gentler, much more sort of kind to your skin, ones that aren't going to be so photosensitive that you're going to end up with brown spots from using them. And there's so many good ones now, and just also more readily available. You can buy them at Sephora, you can buy them at Ulta, and they're going to be a little more gentle. Are they the same in effectiveness? I would say probably not in the beginning, but the long-term result, you will end up the same. So I think in the beginning, when you're using a prescription, people mistake that flakiness and irritation and redness with it's working. And I think we all do that in skincare. People want the most, when we have people that come in for treatments, they'll be like, turn it up. Like they associate pain or discomfort with it working. And I don't know where that ever came from, but it is a real thing. And I always say to people, just because your skin is red, flaking, and peeling does not mean that product is actually working. I mean, it's doing something, it's irritating you. So I always say in the beginning, I think people think the prescriptions are far more effective, but if you course it out over 6 months, 8 months, a year, I find that people that start a really good over the counter and a prescription almost meet at the same finishing point with way less irritation.
Hmm. Do you believe that you have to have a separate eye cream to target that area, or can your
Yes.
face cream do it?
Yes. And I'll tell you, it's funny because again, it's something I've always believed in and it's something I was taught. So when I was in esthetician school, again, I did more of a European study. And when we talked about the eyes, it's a very, you can feel the difference. I mean, you can
Sure.
close your eyes and feel that texture change when you hit
Mhm.
that area. The texture on the upper lids, the underlids, it's very different than the rest of the skin. So I always look at it like just that texture alone. I would treat that very differently. It's treating your body versus your face, your neck. They're really different, as well as the formulations. So eye products specifically are always ophthalmologist tested. So again, it is safe to use around the eye. That is not the case for a face cream. They are not ophthalmologist tested.
Mhm.
Eye creams also have something in them that's like a stabilizer. So if you happen to get it on your eyelash, a regular cream will follow the shaft of your hair and go right into your eyes. An eye
Ah,
cream actually won't. If you get an eye cream and it hits your eyelash, the stabilizer in it will stop it from running into your eye. So just
ah.
safety reasons, hygiene reasons, I always choose an eye cream. And I have a really specific list of ingredients that I want for my under eyes. And they are ingredients that I probably would never use on my face. So again, when
Mm.
I pick an eye cream, I am zoning in on about 3, 4 ingredients that really
What
only
are they?
exist in eye creams.
Which ones?
Number 1, caffeine. I will always
Speak
choose
up.
an eye cream
Mhm.
that has caffeine in it. Number 2, and this is really important for anyone who has darkness under your eyes, including genetic darkness, vitamin K. Vitamin K
Mm.
helps constrict vascular. So again, it's going to help kind of constrict some of those vessels. So I always look for caffeine. I always look for vitamin K. And then again, I usually will look for brighteners like licorice extract.
Mm.
Those are the kinds of things in my eye creams I want. And now there's eye creams that have a little bit of luminizer in them. They have a little bit of like,
Mm.
some of them have crushed diamond, some of them have pearl powder. So they give this real bright glow. So those are things like I would choose specifically for under eye, but I don't really need vitamin K for my whole face. I don't really need
Sure.
caffeine for my whole face, but in an eye cream, 100% I want those ingredients.
Do you have specific brands that you really like and feel that you're loyal to?
I switch around a lot, and it's mostly because my skin changes. Some days
Mhm.
it looks great, some days it doesn't. So I will always have probably 3 eye creams going at the same time. But one that I go back to all the time, especially with ingredients like I just mentioned to you, is Sunday Riley. I think it's called Autocorrect. It's an
Yes, it's a
amazing
great,
eye cream.
great eye cream. Great eye cream.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I always say, and it's not a crazy price point. It's most people can find it. It's not something that you have to go on the search for. I'm always amazed it's not more viral because it's always in stock, but it is one you will see a difference in your eyes, not just in darkness, but also in just sort of the overall skin softness, glowiness. It kind of gives your eyes this plump, just post facial look. It's such a great eye cream.
Okay. And your other two?
Heather too, Ole Hendrickson, and I always pronounce this wrong. How do you pronounce it? Ole
I say
Hendrickson,
the same the way you just said it.
right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But I once went to an event, and he was there when they brought him up to the mic. They said the name, and I was like, "Oh,
Well, they probably said it in the native language.
right."
So, yeah.
That one is amazing. It has a yellow tint to it. I don't know if you've ever
Hmm.
seen it or used it. It's very
Yes.
creamy. It's very rich. It has a yellow tint to it. It's also phenomenal under the eyes. It just gives this really beautiful, softened, sort of almost color corrected look to the
Mm.
under eyes. It's an amazing one. And then I would say I use Murad, and that has that
Hmm.
retinol type. It's a nighttime product, but it's a
Right.
really good anti-aging one. So the other two I mentioned are much more sort of daytime products for that brightening, that really luminous look. And then the Murad night one is really for correcting, treating, prevention.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I know
Yeah.
people at home are like, well, what does she use?
Yeah, yeah,
Where do I
yeah.
find all these products and these ingredients all together in one? So thank
Yes.
you. That's going to be very, very helpful. Oh my gosh. I've got makeup to talk to you about. We haven't even talked about your thoughts on injectables and whatnot. So, okay, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
There's so much to dissect in the beauty industry with our friend, Kat James, and you can find her on TikTok. And we're going to talk about all the ways you can find her at the end of this podcast, but we'll be right back after this.
Perfect.
All right, ladies, do you want to help your kiddos pick out a really nice gift for dad on Father's Day? Send them over to Quince. They make buying a thoughtful gift so incredibly easy. Quince has all the pieces that dad's actually going to want to wear, like cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, and comfortable pants that will work for everything from weekend hangouts to nice dinners. Here's the great part. Everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you would find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury pieces without those crazy markups. And I know this matters to you. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I'm on their website right now. I'm actually going to tell Styles about the Italian swim trunk. It's priced right at $39.90, and I think he will make his dad real happy. For the dad who deserves better than basic, Quince has you covered. Go to quince.com/over50 for free shipping on your first order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/over50 to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/over50.
Welcome back. Our guest is Kat James. She is an over 50 beauty influencer who just blew up on TikTok. And man, she's got a wealth of experience when it comes to, as we've been hearing, skincare, beauty trends, what works, what doesn't. We've been doing a deep dive in skincare, and thanks again just for sharing, direction for women to pursue. Many of them may just be using one cream, and now they're probably rethinking, well, does it have the ingredients that I need at this stage of my life, and maybe what my skin's needs are? So I appreciate that. People really love honest feedback.
Absolutely.
And speaking of honest feedback, Kat, I wanted to get your opinion on something, since you're on social media a lot and you scroll and see what's out there. One thing that I've been noticing lately is this kind of backlash against Botox, fillers, injectables, and look, I come from the news business. I sort of know how this works. The story that gets the clickbait gets shared. And so if somebody has had a bad experience with something, then that will be put out there. It gets shared, more people with more bad experiences. And so now suddenly there's this whole Botox, anti-filler movement that's taking place. And I always say, do your research, right? Go to somebody smart, figure out what's best for you, but be wary of trends and what's going on out there. So what are your thoughts on this messaging?
I mean, I think I have a couple different angles because one, I worked with plastic surgeons and dermatologists for many years. And so my point of reference coming from their offices is just, it's an invaluable tool for aging. Botox and filler have changed the way we're able to age, which is why when you look at a lot of 50-year-olds, we look the way we do because we have access to things like that. So I'm such a believer in getting Botox, getting filler, getting those type of treatments done, whether it's Sculptra. I think the negative stories, exactly like you said, you're always going to hear more about the what went wrong than what went right. Because when it goes right, it's undetectable. You don't look at my face and go, oh my God, she's so full of filler. She's so full of Botox. I mean, you can see I've got like veins on my forehead, so I think you hear always the negative stories more. I do think there is a problem within the industry of very undereducated injectors. So it became, you can get licensed to do these injectables. Dentists are doing them. You can go to a pediatric office and there'll be a sign on the desk when you're doing your wellness check for your child saying, we now offer Botox. To me, that's crazy. And I think that's sort of where the consumer, us, we need to be careful where we're getting this done. Just because someone can do it doesn't mean they should do it. And I will tell you, just so I want you to understand, like, I am you. Like, I'm not out there spending the most money and going to the best plastic surgeon. I did that because as part of my job, I would get those things for free. So for years, I was getting injected by the top hands in the business. When I was going through my divorce and I was on my own and I had to really cut back on a lot of things, and I tried other places. I went to the strip mall, little Medi Spa, and I'm not saying they're all bad, but you know that feeling when you walk in somewhere and you're kind of like, maybe this isn't the best
Mm-hmm.
place. And I got things done. And I will say, for me, like the first time I did filler like that, it wasn't bad the first time. When I went back for the second touch up, it was just more of an untrained eye that was doing a very formulaic, what they learned in their weekend, 23-hour class they had to take to get certified to inject. They were just injecting that way instead of looking at my face, my anatomy, my bone structure, my wants, my wishes, and saying, you know what? You're a little lopsided here. Your left Cupid's bow. Like there's an art to it. There is a skill to it. So I think, again, it's a combination of do your research, exactly like you said. The cheapest option is usually not the best option, and it is something that you should sort of put your money towards. So find out who your friends go to, who has great injectors. Instagram is one of the best places to do your research because there's so many before and afters. Find someone whose bedside manner you like. Find someone who in the video is wearing gloves. Like there's little cues to, there's little cues to what kind of place you're going to. I always say, like, if you're going to an office and when you go to check out, there's a gratuity request on the screen, you're in the wrong office. That should never come up during a proper medical appointment, which injections are. They're medical appointments. So there's always little things that should sort of be that red flag for you, like, ooh, maybe I'm not at the best place. But I'm all for it. I think that, again, there's a big pushback against fillers. And I think I understand where it came from. There was a really overfilled look for a while. Everyone looked the
Absolutely.
same. And, I don't want to name names, Kardashians, but it all kind of was coming from that look that they had where they beautiful, but blow up dolls, not really how I
Not
think
real.
the average woman looks best. And I always say that because when I had my store, so many different people would come into my store in Malibu throughout the day. And you would see these younger girls that were so beautiful on camera. People I follow on Instagram, and on camera in 2-dimensional, they're really beautiful. And in person, it was so shocking how much filler and almost how that dysmorphia, like they didn't look right
They
in
didn't see
person.
it.
And I think that because this look and injectors were so heavy handed, we all became, oh my God, this chipmunk look. They all look the same. What did she do to her face? And, we also live in I think the internet can be really cruel, like the comments. And I've had those comments, when I
So
first
have I.
started. If you go back and you look at some of my videos, I had a bad injector once and my lips were really overfilled. And I knew it. And I was already self-conscious of it. And every video, people would be like, oh my God, lay off the filler. You look ridiculous. Who do you think? And so I think it's such a fine line of doing work that you feel good about, taking aging into your own hands and aging the way you want, which can be with filler, facelifts, threads, whatever you
Or
decide to
nothing.
do. But we live in such a crazy time where people think it's okay to attack you for it and to insult you and critique you and criticize you, and the good and the bad. I will read videos or comments, and someone will say something like, someone will compliment me and say, you look amazing, like, girl, whatever you're doing, it's working. And then the next comment will be like, she's all fake, she's all this, it's all money. It's a crazy world we're in right now.
It's a crazy dichotomy. And to your point, I think the extreme that you talked about, because it was pushed to an extreme, there's now this wave of people saying, well, whatever happened about aging gracefully? But herein lies the conundrum with that. Who gets to define what aging gracefully looks like?
Right.
To you, it could be a journey. To me, it could be another journey. To another woman, it could be another journey. But in my heart of hearts, my way is aging gracefully, just like you would say your way is, and the other woman would say her way is. And so I think this judgment business about how women choose to age is really a systemic part of social media and where we are today, because it's now gotten to a point where it's gone so far to the extreme. Now the other extreme is happening. And if
Right.
you let go of it all and, don't do anything, then, well, you're not part of this new trend, which is let it all go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you see what I'm saying here? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, somewhere I think the word gracefully got confused with naturally. So when people would
Yes.
say, what happened to aging gracefully? What they're actually talking about is what happened to aging without intervention. What happened to aging
Right.
naturally? Which, I would believe that if my mom had Botox back in her 30s, she would have done it. It didn't exist before. You can't take women. I mean, again, I'm not trying to lift any rumors, but Marilyn Monroe in her autopsy had a chin implant, she had so much work done. You just didn't know it. It wasn't talked about. The studio kind of refined her tip of her nose. Most of these beautiful women you look up to have had these little tweaks done, and you'll say, oh, she's aged so naturally. According to who? I think that
Mhm.
it's very, my opinion and my version of aging gracefully. When I hear the word gracefully, I think that it's looking the best you can for your age. I don't go out in
Mhm.
the world and try to present that I'm 30 or
Mhm.
40. I go out in the world presenting I'm 52 and someone that just really tries to take care of myself. I want to look vital. That kind of look of vitality to me is more important than a youthful look. And to me,
Mhm.
vitality is sort of that glow, a tautness to my skin, a full, volumized, healthy looking skin that looks like it's got nutrients. And I get those nutrients from skincare and diet. So I think, there's judgment, and this is going to sound really nasty, but I swear I believe it to be true. And I'm pulling from my 1.4 million followers to back it up. Most people that are very anti getting things done. And I'm talking whether that's you're doing microneedling, you're doing threads, you're doing all therapy, whatever it is you choose to do, the ones that I find are most negative about it are the ones that for whatever reason can't do it. I find it's the ones that, and often, and it's not fair. And I don't think, I wish there was a way it was equalized, but it's usually money. People who will say, you're spending so much money, that costs thousands of dollars. It does. It really does. And I think these treatments are becoming less expensive. They're becoming a little more available. And there's so many things you can do at home. But I do find that the most criticism comes from people and maybe it's also just a personal choice. Like they don't believe in
Mhm.
that. They don't
Sure.
believe in doing XYZ. So they judge you because you do believe in it. But I also feel, I don't know, I'm lucky. I have a really good group of followers. I don't see it a lot in my comments, but I also think like attracts like. Like in the beginning, I remember getting comments and I would cry. I would be like, oh, these people are so mean. These people are so mean. And eventually those people kind of fell off my page because I think
Mhm.
you either like me or you don't. And I'm not someone who, like if you're such a natural, I would never do this, never do that. I'm probably not a page you're going to follow. You're going to think I'm annoying when I'm like, oh my God, I found the best new thing today. Or, when I take you with me to an appointment and I'm like, I'm getting sculpture done. Like if you're not into that, I'm probably not interesting to you. So you end up attracting the people you like. And I find that they are so grateful of the feedback, the guidance, the showing them what it looks like. I tell them how much it costs, at least in my area. Like I try to be so
Mhm.
transparent about what I do, what you should do, what it looks like, how much it costs. And again, if you choose to do nothing, I'm okay with that too. I don't judge you. I think that,
Mhm.
this era of being so judgmental against other women when it's just live and let live. I mean, how could what I put on my face or what I do possibly upset you to the point where you're calling me names and, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think this whole seventh grade mean girl thing in midlife has just gotten way out of hand. So Thank you for the honest and frank conversation about it. I'm with you.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think that that whole aging gracefully thing, many people really mean aging naturally.
Yes.
And I'm like, I am pro you. Whatever you want to do, walk your walk, look at yourself in your mirror, be
Yeah.
happy with what you see, embrace it, accept it. But you know what? Be the same toward another woman and offer her grace in her walk and her
Yeah.
journey as well. So wise words indeed. Okay, so we've talked about skincare. We've talked about all the different things that we can do there. What about makeup for over 50? Our skin changes. Do you know what I've noticed? The war paint that I used to wear as a news anchor, I can't do it anymore. If I put on that much makeup, I look like a midlife hooker. So
Yeah.
things have totally changed
Yes.
when it comes to makeup application. What do you notice past a certain age?
Again, it's one of those things. It's funny you say that because when I was a makeup artist, I was in my 20s and I got hired to do a celebrity, and she was a good 20 years older than me. And when I
Mhm.
was doing her makeup, she commented to me, and remember, I'm 20 something. So my understanding of what she was saying was so limited, but she was like, oh, look at you with all that makeup on. I could
Mhm.
never. And I was like, is she
What do
insulting
you
me? Like
mean?
yeah, I was so confused because I had on my foundation, but to me, it wasn't a lot of makeup, but it was a full coverage foundation. It was a
Mhm.
full, and for her, I mean, of course, those days we didn't even really add tinted moisturizer. For me, I would take like
Sure.
a regular foundation and add moisturizer to apply to her to kind of thin it out. So theoretically, I knew already and understood a mature skin couldn't take a full phase. But it was just so funny having someone say that to me. And now I'm so, I'm her age then, and I'm like, oh, I know, I know
I
exactly
get
what
it
she
now.
meant. But I
Yeah.
think I will tell you, I went through a phase, and I'm a professional makeup artist. I've always enjoyed makeup, and I don't think I ever, even me, like if you say bare face, I am never bare face. Like there is
Correct.
always
There's always
something.
something going on.
There's no such thing. Like I can be going in for surgery or giving birth, and there's some type of tint going on. Like that's my comfort level of how I like to show up in the world. But I think that it's I went through a phase where I was, a little depressed. It was right after my divorce, and doing my
Mhm.
makeup and stuff, just it lost its joy. And when I go back and I look at pictures of that time, I
Mhm.
really strongly believe that I would say every woman will feel better with a little something.
Yep.
And it may sound so dated to say that, like to
It's
say
not.
that, add a little blush. And I swear,
Mhm.
add a little blush.
Mhm.
I really, I also know coming from the other perspective that I do people's makeup. So again, I mean, before I had my physical store, I was someone that you would hire. You would hire me to come do a makeup, or I would do a makeup on set. Those are people that were more used to having their makeup done. In my storefront, I would have a woman come in, and maybe she was buying a candle in my store, and we would
Mhm.
start to talking and do, what do you do? And she'd say, I've never really learned about makeup. It's just not something I'm comfortable with. And I would say, well, what do you do? Like, what do you have? And she'd say, I have a mascara, and I've got my same lip gloss that I've had. And I would say, let me invite you to sit you. And I am telling you, the woman you would never expect it from, the one who
Mhm.
doesn't get her nails done, who doesn't, I would add a little bit of just bronzer, blush, and
Yep.
this woman would light up.
Mhm.
That wall between the girls who do and the girls who don't just dissolves. And she really would. And I'm telling you, I can tell the story over and over again, how that sort of judgment of how I choose to wear makeup, or maybe judgment that she doesn't, just dissolves. And she immediately kind of sees that, wow, there is something to sort of your face lighting up and that balancing
Mhm.
and bringing back the color, and it makes your eyes sparkle and you just look happier and more awake. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of, I mean, again, I'm completely off topic because you asked me trends in makeup, but my real thing was just for mature skins, don't throw it out the window and think like,
Mhm.
I'm 60. Like, what do I need makeup for? Who am I trying to impress? Because I hear that weird comment a lot too.
Yeah.
Who am I trying to impress? Where did we ever
How
come
about
up with putting
yourself?
on? Yeah. Where did it ever be said that putting on makeup was you're trying to impress somebody? I don't
Exactly.
ever put on makeup to impress anybody.
Nor do
Um,
I.
so I think these stigmas of, I'm over this age. Why would I need makeup? I'm not going
Mhm.
anywhere but the grocery store. Who do I need to impress? It's not about impressing anybody. I promise you, your mood will change. You will feel better with just that little bit of color, that little bit of concealer, that little bit of bronzer. And the minute you feel better, how people treat you and receive you is an entirely different thing.
Yep,
I
you are speaking
notice
my
it.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Are there certain formulations that you like now? And have you noticed a change in kind of what you're selecting for yourself as time goes by?
I think, again, I always like to sort of address, like, I also, as a beauty expert and as someone in the space, the market is oversaturated. I'm with you.
Sure.
It's confusing. It's complicated. You buy one product, the next week there's something else out. Now you're like, did I get the right one? Did I pay?
Mhm.
It's oversaturated. I think the biggest thing is, as we age, you want to move out of those sort of more matte products. You want to get into something that has a little more slip, a little more glow, a little more luminosity. But I also think it's gone extreme in that
Yeah.
every product that's been released probably in the last 2 years has been a serum foundation, a serum. And
Mhm.
again, most people can't wear a full, glossy, glowy, luminous skin in real life. And I always watch these videos and you'll see, the influencer, she swatches and it's so it almost looks wet and sticky. And
Yes.
a
If you're
lot,
20, it's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it kind of comes down to finding formulas that work for you versus what you see online, what you're being
Mhm.
influenced to buy. I do think a tinted moisturizer is the way to go.
Mhm.
But I say that graced with, I also then use concealer on top of that. So I'm still
For
getting
sure.
coverage under my eyes. I'm getting coverage where I feel like I need it. And then that tinted moisturizer just diffuses and softens and kind of gives that blurred effect. But, to me, you lighten up the foundation. I know, again, this sounds pretty cliche, and I never thought I'd be saying it because I'm such a nude lip girl. But as I'm getting older, I'm able to wear those brighter colors and
Yeah.
they look amazing. So I
Yeah.
also think it's really fun to play with that because I now wear like these kind of berry colors, which I would
Mhm.
have never touched 10 years ago. I
Isn't
was
that
such a
funny?
new girl. So I
Yeah.
think don't be afraid again of, I find like universally, this type of mauvey berry kind of plumish look looks good on almost every skin tone, every person. Um,
Mhm.
it's just like L'Oreal makes this shade. It's called Worth It. I think it's
Mm.
$7. It looks good on
Yep.
everyone. There's
Yep.
no one it doesn't look good on. So I always say, again, like, at this age, it's tricky because it's time to play again. It's try to experiment again. It's trying to try new things. And again, I don't think you have to fall exactly into the stereotypes of cream. I know mature skins, everyone's like
Mhm.
cream, 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 cream. To
Sure.
me, again, there's only so much cream you can layer on your face. If it's a cream
Mhm.
bronzer, a clean blush, a cream highlighter, you will be such a slippy mess. So I think it's
Right.
like it is a juggling act. And I think I always tell people, if you can, utilize services that are available to you, like go get your makeup done somewhere.
Mhm.
It's a really, for years, I worked in department stores. And I think it's such an underutilized service. You can go, whatever makeup you gravitate to. If it's Charlotte Tilbury, if it's Estee Lauder, you can go to the counter at Neiman's and say, I really would love to kind of start over. I don't know much anymore. I especially don't know much at my age, at 50, whatever. They will
Mhm.
truly walk you through what looks best on you. And I promise you, those women, those men at those counters, their only job is they want you to be happy. They want you to love what they did. You don't have to buy everything all at once. You should never feel like, oh my God, they're selling me $900 worth of stuff. You can
Mhm.
really say, what are the three most important things to take home with me today? And kind of, I was a shop girl, department store girl for years. And I always say at this day and age, like, it was one of the best jobs I ever had. I helped so many people and had clients that would send their friends to me. They'd be like, oh, my friend so-and-so said I have to sit down with you and have you do my makeup. So I think now we've all become such online shoppers, and
That's
we're
true.
also buying things based on reviews. My review is still, it's not your colors, it's not your skin type.
Mhm.
And I swear, go to the department store and pick, and I always think, like, pick a line, Mac tends to be a little younger. Pick a line
Mhm.
that you feel resonates with you. Like, I love Lancome is a great place to go get a makeover. Estee Lauder is a great counter to get a makeover. Chanel. And I think go and have them do your makeup. It's their pleasure to do it. Like I said, it's why they're there. And then they'll write everything down for you. Start picking a few pieces at a time. And, once a month, go and pick up the mascara, pick up them, in a few months, you'll have that full look at home. And you had someone that kind of, again, looked at your features, looked at your age. To me, it's the way to go instead of online shopping all the time.
And you're absolutely right. And as you say that, when I was in college, I worked at the Lancome counter at Marshall Fields, of all places. But you know what I remember? My best customers back then were women our age.
Yep.
And it makes perfect sense now. Perfect sense. Plus, what a fun day to just go bopping around, from Neiman's to wherever, Saks or whatever, and let other people do your makeup. I mean, what a wonderful exploratory process. You're absolutely right about that. And you've got to see it on your skin. One thing I want to touch upon quickly, I'm still a powder fan, but I've noticed that the way I apply my powder is very different. It used to be puff, pat, 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 pat. Now I find I'm doing more brush and a little bit more selective. A lot of women kind of cringe when I do powder over a little concealer or whatnot. What are your thoughts on that? And
I'm a huge powder fan. I love powder.
Yeah, I can't live without it.
Yeah. I don't think any makeup look is complete without powder. And that's even on the most dewy, glowy, any type of look you do, I would always apply powder. But exactly like you said, I now use a refining brush, not even a powder brush. The brush I use for powder is probably this big, 2 fingers. And I use it very strategically.
In here.
Only in the spots I want. And again, when it comes to powder, I think a lot of times the mistake, and I wish I had something here, people take their brush and they kind of dip it in the powder, and there's so much powder on the brush that when you touch it, it falls. I always say, pick up your powder, and then whether it's on the back of your hand, get the powder in the bristles. You shouldn't even see that powder sitting on the top. It should be really part of the brush so that when you're applying it, you're not getting that big fallout of powder all in one spot. And now you're trying to blend that in, and that part's chalky and over matte. So technique is also important.
Excellent. Are there any things that you've changed along the way, aside from foundation formulations and how you apply powder? What about texture of lipsticks? A lot of people talk about there are all these new cream eyeshadows and cream blushes. What are your thoughts on all that?
I've changed every single thing about my makeup as I've aged. I used to have great eyebrows that didn't need to be filmed in. My eyebrows take the most time out of my whole makeup.
Yeah.
And again, I say it to people all the time. It sucks. I know no one wants to sit here doing your eyebrows, but what a difference it makes as we age. Even things like, the hair. I have gray hairs in my eyebrows and they're wiry. And if I don't stick them down, I need that pomade to keep them flat and groom them. Like these little things. I wear more lip liner now than I've ever worn in my life. And it's mostly
Is that to keep it in?
Yep. It's my lips have lost some definition. They've also lost some color. As we age, our lips fade. So I find that lip liner gives a much more youthful look to my mouth.
See, I'm coming in, I'm staring at you now. I want to look at your lips.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see. So you did more of a berry trim.
Yeah. And I find little things like that. I still go back and forth between cream shadow, and cream shadow is my everyday. If I'm going just regular to the store, I do one swipe of cream shadow, I'm done. But I do think if I'm going for a more glam look, I will always use a shadow palette. The difference being at this age, I have to use a primer first. Something needs to go on first to kind of smooth my lid, make sure the colors are going to sit nice, get rid of any discoloration and veins that are now showing through the thin eyelids that I didn't used to have. So there are little tweaks you make, but I find most of what I do now is very similar to what I did before. It's just, like I said, those little tweaks of, I can't really see to put the eyeliner on. Like eyeliner's a challenge now. So I have to use, a little bit of a different formula that just does the work for me. I'll take like a pencil, slap that on, and then take a little thin brush and make the brush pull the wing versus me trying to see and draw the wing.
Yeah, makes sense. One thing that I've shifted from my younger years, I used to do a real deep smoky eye, and I would also smoke out the bottom lashes a lot. And I
Yeah.
just feel that as we age, everything goes downwards. So my focus has been more upwards. So
Yeah.
your thoughts on lower lash, whether it's liner, shadow color, mascara, do you do it? Do you not do it? Where do you draw the line, Kat?
So it's such a good question, and I'm thrilled you asked it because I actually have a product coming out, a set coming out, and it's specifically for mature eyes because it's exactly the things you're talking about. You want everything to lift up. So most people don't really know how to get that elevated look. So I've included exactly something that will lift, these little tweaks, the things like the under the lashes. I love mascara under the lashes. The problem is trying to apply that mascara with a big fluffy mascara wand. It ends up a little more clumpy. It ends up, so again, I always say, again, it's more the tools that you're using that I think as we age, you have to kind of change the tools a little bit. I think you always hear, again, like a mature skin can't wear liner on their inner rim. You totally can. Again, it's just one of those things when you're done, like you said, pushing everything back up. Everything, whether you're using a concealer to do it, whether you're using a Q-tip to do it, like every time I'm done my eyes, I clean underneath and pull everything back up.
Right. What would you say? And I swear, I'm sure we are out of time. I could talk to you for hours just about all things. This is just fun. It's, it's girl land, it's play.
Yes.
These are areas that you and I have both enjoyed and explored over our careers in different ways, but yet similar ways. For you, looking back at your career, is there something that you would say to your younger self now with your 52 years of wisdom?
I would say a lot of things. But I think one of the biggest things is and again, I think it's said often, but you don't think a lot about the meaning behind saying it, which is you really have to love what you do to be good at it.
That's true.
And I think for me, I never have had another career ever. It's only been beauty. I never stepped outside of that and said, I need to make more money. This isn't paying the bills, or, I'm going to go work for a friend. It's always been beauty because I love it. I'm excited by it. I learn every day. It changes, it evolves. And it's also, I love being of service. I love helping women. And, I swear some of the things I've done for women has brought them more joy than therapy, I just see how beauty is so impactful to women's lives, how they feel, getting them a job, learning to do their makeup and hair to go to interviews and to get a job. It's so important. And I think that for me, I look at people, and whether you're going online and you're an influencer or you're a founder making a brand, if you aren't coming from a place of, I am so lucky I get to do this, you will never be successful. It will never feel good. It will never resonate with buyers, consumers, an audience. To me, it's the biggest lesson. And I say it to my kids who are going to college now, do something you like. You better like it. You have to really love it or you won't be good at it.
Absolutely. And if you do something you love, it'll never be a job.
Yep.
Ever. It'll be a career passion, which is something we both have been blessed with. And that's why I've enjoyed this conversation so very much, because I feel it in you, Kat. And I'm just so grateful to have had you. And I want to share more of you with this audience. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I guess the best, I was going to say, come to Malibu. Best place to find me is TikTok and Instagram. I'm official Kat James on both, and it's Kat with a K. And just putting a little alert out there. I have really cool, what I call innovations coming for the mature woman. Just as a makeup artist, as an esthetician, as a beauty expert, those little spaces that have been missed because people aren't always making products and tools for mature women, I am. So you are seeing, we will it's all evolving. So I think this conversation about mature women aging beautifully and having products made for them and people speak to them directly, it's a big deal. So I'm thrilled you had me on today. And what you're doing and your channel is so important.
Well, thank you, Kat. And it's just so nice seeing people in this space realizing the need and then meeting that need. And it's true. And we are starting to see more and more, but it's like playing catch up, I feel. There's been such a void for so long. So grateful for people like you who are coming up with product. Will everybody be able to find out about what you're launching on
Yes,
both your Instagram and your TikTok
absolutely.
platforms? Okay.
It'll be out there.
It'll be out there. I love it. And I'm sure you'll put it out there beautifully with your wonderful messaging and another video yet to go viral, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's hope so.
All right. I know so. Kat, thank you so much for joining us today. What a pleasure.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
That was so great chatting with Kat. And we do want to end this episode with a Dear Dominique letter that has come in. And apropos, it is about beauty. This is by Lisa Marie, and she writes, I've been watching your makeup tutorials for quite some time. I have loved makeup forever and have learned what works for me and what doesn't as I've went along. Your videos, however, have been so helpful, and I've enjoyed getting your opinions on certain products and how to use them. I'm now 56 years old and in the process of making my makeup application somewhat softer, given the effects of aging. I continue to struggle with lip liner. Specifically, should a woman my age still be using lip liner? And also matte lipsticks or those with more of a shine to them. I tend to soften my liner now, but I wonder if I should abandon it altogether along with matte lipsticks and simply go for a more lip gloss look. Your makeup always looks so tastefully done, so I thought perhaps you could provide me with your opinion. Many thanks in advance. Lisa Marie is so happy to answer that question. And in fact, if you listen to today's podcast, Kat talked extensively about the fact that she is needing to focus more on lip liner, to keep the lipstick within the border. Also, she talked about the fact that the tint and color of our lips actually fade as we age so that we, can now play maybe with deeper colors. Personally, I find I always use a lip liner unless I'm just going for a lip gloss to moisten my lips. For an overall polished makeup look, I tend to stick overall, and this is my go-to. It's NYX Nude Truffle. I just like a very nude light lip liner to give me some kind of a border. I tend to stick more with the nude, natural, light pink, light peachy type colors for my lips. I do find that if I go with a stronger lip color, like a berry or a red, I will deepen the lip pencil as well to give it a nicely defined border to keep that lipstick in place to help prevent it from moving into the lines. So my answer to you is don't abandon your lip pencil. You may need to play with color a little bit. Maybe it's not as bright as it used to be, but I think it's necessary for we ladies as we mature. I just think that things tend to spread and move around a little too much. And I really, really like a polished and a refined look. So I've got my lip liner on now. I'm actually wearing more of a matte lipstick than I normally do. I often go for a cream-based lipstick. So it anywhere in between for me. I like to play around. It kind of depends on the look. And I'm very matte for this podcast, so I wanted my lipstick to match that, but sometimes a little bit more dewy, and then my lipstick will have a little gloss to go on top. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but I just wouldn't throw away those lip pencils just yet. Thank you so much for your question. I will be answering your questions to Dear Dominique. You can leave them for me below. We'll provide a link if you would like to ask a question. We will include an answer at the end of every podcast. So I thank you in advance just for being part of that segment. It's just so nice to include you and have you and appreciate what you have to ask. If you are listening on YouTube, please do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment below if you have one. Would love to hear from you. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcast, thank you for bringing in Over 50 and Flourishing there. Thank you for sharing it with your friends, your family, and your loved ones. I encourage you to do that. Rate, review, subscribe, and share. That's what we say here on these podcast platforms. Grows the community and it brings in other like-minded women. So I thank you for doing that as well. Have a blessed week and I'll see you next time.